Hey everyone, and welcome to another installment in the Halo implementation series. This week we are going to be talking about the end user portal, how to set it up, how to configure it, all that kind of stuff. With me today, I have my good friend Morgan Aspinall, who, as you all know, is Mr. Halo. We haven't spoken for a while, Morgan. I've been away. I know you've been away. So how's things been going?
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks. I imagine the community are like, where have all the videos gone? So yeah, good to hop back on a session with you, Chris.
And I'm sure you've been missing being called Mr. Halo as well, right? I was abroad in like 10,000 miles away, and I was still scratching your head. I bet you could probably feel
I
it.
actually on a couple of the visits that I've been on and speaking with customers remotely, they've mentioned that they've seen the videos, and so yeah, they're calling me it as well now, and the name's catching on.
Absolutely. You're going to be signing autographs soon, man.
Yeah, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Absolutely. So yeah, let's talk about end user portal, kind of how to set it up, and go through the whole process.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose this is going to be one of the last sessions that we do for a while, at least, where it's just a sort of pure show and tell. We've covered a lot of the broad strokes of the platform. This is one of the last sort of big missing pieces. And over the coming weeks and months, the nature of these sessions will change a little bit from just pure show and tell to actually looking at real world MSP examples and setting up start to end processes. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, the self-service portal is something that I think is not widely used enough by the community, to be perfectly honest with you. And it's one of the great things, I always say this, is one of the great things about all of the Halo products, namely ITSM and PSA, actually having the same code base, sharing the same code, because the result of that point is the fact that Halo PSA out of the box has got an enterprise grade self-service portal. So let's have a look at how we set it up. First thing I'll do is...
Sorry, I was going to say, and it is something I've noticed, with every PSA tool, is a lot of their customers don't use the portals for a bunch of reasons, and a lot of it is because it's yet another place that the customers have to sign into, and yet another place that they've got to go and create tickets. But I think one of the good things about Halo's end user portal, or whatever you want to call it, is it's so customizable and configurable that you don't have to be kind of stuck with this clunky system that no one wants to use. So I think if you're not using it in your business, and you're not encouraging your users to use it, I would encourage you to obviously at the end of this video, look at it and say, this is something that we really can let our customers use, because we can make it look nice for them. So
absolutely. And before I forget as well, I do want to mention one or two ways that you can subtly promote the self-service portal, the end user portal in Halo. And that is by including links in your email templates. So there is a dollar variable, just before we hop onto the portal, just very quickly. There is a variable that we can use, link to request user, and that will be replaced with a link to the self-service portal to the particular ticket in question. So link to request user. So if you wanted to sort of drive traffic towards your self-service portal without doing anything too drastic, you could always just add something into your email templates. It's like, click here to view live updates on your ticket, or something like that. Highlight that text and insert your link, just like so. And that's quite a nice way to actually you know, in those email communications with your customers, they see this link, they might click on it and actually like what they see. And then that's a way of introducing your customers to the self-service portal in a very organic way. But yeah, let's have a look at the self-service portal itself and some of the configuration options behind it. So the first point that I want to highlight is how you can actually hop between the agent application and the self-service portal if you want to have a look at the configuration of the portal itself. And you can do that from your account details in the top right, where you've got this switch to end user portal. And it's just logging me in. And so what we're looking at here is the self-service, the end user portal. This is where your customers will go to check in on their tickets, log services, check in on a status of services, look at entire dashboards of information perhaps. But yeah, this is the end user portal. The configuration that we see behind this, firstly, we'll take a look at how these buttons are configured. And that all sits within the configuration panel in the self-service portal option. And the options that we see on that home screen, the buttons that we see here, are returned via the menu buttons option that we see here. So of course, report an issue, my issues and requests, services and products equates to report an issue, my issues and requests, and so on and so forth. Now, taking a very quick step back, we can actually see just above, we have some styling configuration options. And you know, that includes details like what is the logo that you want to return in the top left up here. What is the welcome message that you want to display, which is, you know, what we have here. What is the color theme that we want? So you can actually completely style the self-service portal to either sort of fit your MSP styling, or actually brand it to your customers' branding. So the self-service portal can be sort of fully white labeled, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so I guess just before we go on to the menu buttons, there's a couple of other options here. We actually, further on the point of styling, you can add your own custom CSS onto the self-service portal to style the buttons, the navigation bar, any of the elements that you see on the screen here, but in whatever fashion you see fit. So it's very configurable in terms of how you want the portal to be presented. Below that, we have a few options around authentication. So we can actually not enforce users to log in to access the portal. So you could have like an anonymous mode that might have some basic details, perhaps the ability to log a ticket, look at you know, 1 or 2 open KB articles, and then if you wanted some more sort of specific functionality or something that you needed users to log in to access, you can then actually hide that behind these buttons, which we'll have a look at in a moment. So there's a few different options around what is required when it comes to authenticating into the portal. Things like, do we need to authenticate to view KBs? Do we need to authenticate to approve or reject approval processes? Stuff like that. It's worth mentioning at this point as well, the self-service portal does have the facility for single sign-on. So if you've got something like the Microsoft CSP integration, you can have all of the users within your managed tenants all logging into the self-service portal all via SSO. So cool. So let's have a look at the configuration behind these menu buttons. So let's take all of these out, go back here, go home, do a Control F5.
we'll get a very basic screen with pretty much nothing
Pretty
on
much
it.
nothing. Yeah, exactly.
There's one option, yeah.
And we'll just build out some of these menu buttons.
Yep.
The My Invoices is based on it's based on the fact that the menu button's here. So let's get rid of that. Yeah, cool. So let's add a couple of menu buttons in and just have a look at the configuration options behind them. So how I tend to go about advising people on setting the self-service portal up is keep things really basic to start with. Just a couple of options: log a ticket, view tickets, maybe view invoices or something like that. And then over time, you can flesh the functionality out. Further to your point, Chris, if you make the self-service portal too overwhelming initially, when your customers go there, they're going to be like, there's so many options, I don't know what to do. Scrap that. I'm just going to call instead. So keeping things simple and clean, so to speak, is going to be beneficial in the long run. So let's add a couple of options in. And of course, the options are added by adding to the menu buttons list, where here we have a series of functions. You can see there's quite a few different sort of functions that these menu buttons can perform. Everything from logging a ticket of a certain type all the way through to a custom URL or even a custom HTML page, which is somewhere in here, custom HTML page. So there's loads of different configuration options behind these menu buttons. If I want one of my options to be new ticket, just search there, new ticket. We've got a couple of different types here, 3 to be exact. We can log a new ticket with a given type, a new ticket with a given template, or a new ticket with the option to select the type. And then the 4th option is a new ticket with the option to select the ticket type. So let's say that we just want the option to log an incident. So for that, I would log a ticket with a present type.
Yeah. And to be honest, I wouldn't actually put a ticket type on for the end user anyway, because they probably wouldn't know what that means. So I would normally set these up just with the the predefined ticket type.
Yeah, I agree. Also, they probably just log everything as an incident anyway, so it's like there's not much point there. Cool. So if we wanted to, just hard code the ticket type in, we'd log a ticket of a given type, and then we've got some configuration options that have been presented to us after clicking save. Namely, the ticket type that we're selecting. Below that, we have our dashboard button restriction. So this ties back to the point that I just mentioned around you can configure on a button by button basis whether or not the user needs to be logged in, authenticated to see/interact with that menu button. So if we did just want someone to be able to log an incident without having to log in, we can just pick this top one, or if we are requiring someone to log in, obviously we pick the option below. Now, we do provide let's just save this very quick. Go back here. We do provide default options for the icon, the label, and the hint, which is like the description, which in this case looks like this. But we can override the icon, the name, and the description just by clicking this button here. At which point we have the default options presented to us. Log an incident. Please click here if you something like that.
Yep.
And then we've got our icon down here as well. We could also configure the color of the icon, just some more styling options. And then we have the option here to show on the home screen and or show on the navigation bar. So a prime example here is we have this home option that we want to be able to click from the navigation bar wherever we are in the self-service portal. But of course, there's no point in having the home button on the home screen. So you can include options in the navigation bar at the top here. You can include options on the home page as buttons, or you can have them in both places.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I think it's good to kind of have them in both places. Well, I guess as you say, like a home button you wouldn't want on the home screen, but the rest, I think it's always good to have it in both places, because some people, some customers might want to nav up to that screen, and others might want to click on the big square in the middle. So but it's good that it has the flexibility to add those options if you need them.
Yeah. And then finally, our menu buttons can have visibility restrictions applied to them. So we can start to restrict the menu buttons that are present on the self-service portal, perhaps by the customer that's logging in to the self-service portal, or the top level, for example. So there is only one configuration of the self-service portal in Halo. However, based on who's logging into that portal, they can have a very different experience. Further to that point as well, you can have multiple URLs navigate to the self-service portal in Halo. It's not something that I can demonstrate on this session right now, but if someone is interested, about having multiple portals in Halo, that can be done, but there's still only one configuration screen. So this is the configuration screen for all of those portals, and it's all based on the visibility restrictions that we apply that determine the experience that the individual logging into the portal has.
Yep.
Cool. So below our menu buttons option, and I suppose let me just add another one in real quick. My tickets. My tickets. There we go. Notice how there's not a ticket type option up here, because the configuration options that we see here are specific to the function, plus the options that are applicable to every menu button. So cool. Below that we have these options against our home screen. So firstly, we have our home screen image, which is the actual background image. So I'll take that out. You'll see the portal is not quite as pretty. So yeah, now it's a lot more vanilla. So you can include any image, via a URL as the background. You've also got the option to either display the full image across the entirety of the background, or just display it as a banner, where the banner is kind of the blue portion that we see here at the top.
Yep.
A couple of checkboxes against some other parts of the home screen that we'll see. So, for example, we've got this search bar at the top here. We've got this activity feed down here. Personally, I don't like this activity feed. So one of the things that I'd recommend doing is unchecking that box. It just makes that home screen a lot more straightforward. Yeah. So we can also show our top 5 knowledge base articles or news articles, or the status of monitored services, which we'll try and cover today. If not, we'll cover it in one of the upcoming sessions for sure. And then finally, we've got the number of buttons, number of homepage buttons to display per row. So depending on how many options you put on the home screen, you might want to configure the buttons to be slightly wider or more compact.
Yeah.
Cool. Below that, we've got just options against some of the entities that we can search on. So our search bar can search knowledge-based articles, service catalog items, or tickets, and you can configure what that search is on based on our search options here. And then more recently, we've added an option to return a search bar, basically with our navigation bar, meaning that you can search for an entity wherever you are in Halo. I think we're probably going to move this up to be in line with the nav bar because yeah, that needs a bit of a tweak.
Yeah, and that's nice because I think, you know, currently, you know, when I've been playing with this, you've always had to go back to the main screen to find that search bar. So it's nice to kind of have it up in the menu option at the top.
Nice. Cool. So below those search options, we have the configuration for the logging of tickets and some sort of associated functionality. So firstly, we've got our default ticket type. That will just be the default option if one of your menu buttons is log a ticket with ticket type selection. This is the default option in that drop down. You can specify whether or not you want to send an acknowledgement email to the customer when they log a ticket via the portal or not. We've also got the option to display a message once the ticket has been logged. So thanks for logging this ticket. Your ID is $fault ID. Someone will be in touch. And basically, so if we go to log an incident, they really need help.
Yeah, help.
Yeah.
SOS 911.
Yeah.
Well, didn't you know it's always urgent for customers, right? Even the most unurgent thing is always urgent.
Yeah. Goes back to one of the points that we mentioned way early on in the series, when we were talking about the visibility of fields and, you know, the obvious motivation for not making the priority field visible for customers. Because if they did, they just immediately P1. Sorry, I just cleared my cache. Let's try again.
I think we're all the same though, right? I mean, if we get the option, and I'm guilty of that too, right? If I get an option to say,
oh yeah,
what's the priority of this? I'm always going to go urgent because I want a response now, right?
Oh yeah.
Even if I can actually wait a few days, I'm going to say I want it now. So I think we're all
urgent.
Yeah.
Yeah, send emails with an exclamation mark. Send them as important. Yeah, do whatever you can to get top of that list. But yeah, anyways, the message that we add in here, typos and all, are then returned in this message at the top. So you can put a little banner, you know, add your own sort of flavor of you know, make it a little bit jazzy, whatever, or not.
Yep.
Down here, so allow logging on behalf of other users. So that basically sets this contact option at the top. The idea being that someone logs into the portal and they're logging a ticket, but it might actually be for someone else. At that point, they can specify who the ticket is actually for. It's more of an ITSM feature. Generally, if you're an MSP's customer and the customer's logging into the portal, it's going to be their issue. But that being said, MSP has got a customer, maybe a solicitor's. One of the managers in the solicitors might log a ticket on the portal for someone else's laptop not working. So that's the motivation for this contact option here.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I mean, that does happen quite a lot actually with certainly with bigger customers, right? Is they might have an admin person, and it's that admin person whose job it is to log a ticket. So I would send them an email saying, can you please log a ticket with IT company to fix whatever. So it does happen quite a lot, and I used to have quite a lot of customers like that when I had my MSP business. So yeah, there's definitely that that does happen, and actually sometimes that happens in even smaller companies. I mean, I used to have a company that was 3 users, and they still had to go through the manager to log their ticket, which was just bizarre. But anyway,
that is I suppose so. You could have it across everyone in the company. That might be a good example of this other option that we have here. So that for that small 3-person company that you're referring to, they still had to go through the manager. Let's say the manager had to log the tickets for all 3 individuals. That's also an option in Halo, and that's based on this logging of tickets on behalf of other users based on the user's web access level. Now, what is web access level? So, slight tangent, I suppose, but still relevant to the portal. As I'm going through these options, and from the example, let's say, of viewing tickets, right? As I'm going through, I'm creating these tickets and sort of fleshing out the self-service portal. Something that might be in the back of your mind is, okay, how do I configure the permissions that an end user has to the self-service portal? An obvious example being, can we have the manager of one of my customers be able to view all of the tickets at their company, but the new starter at the same company only view their own tickets? Yeah. So of course you can establish the permissions that are set for your end users, and one of the fundamental aspects for that is
setting their role, right?
Setting their role. We'll talk about roles in just a second, but setting their web access level. So a user, via the permissions tab, has this web access level at the top here. So there's a few options in here. It's sort of everything from no access to this particular end user all the way through to sort of global access. And so this web access level in this case is saying, what level of tickets can Jennifer Williams see? Can Jennifer just see her own tickets? Can Jennifer see all tickets at Sandella Consulting Main, all tickets across the Sandella Consulting client record, or just all tickets globally? So yeah, it's this web access level that sets the level of access that an end user has to tickets in the platform, which then ties back to this option that I was referring to, where we're having it based on web access level. So it might be that in Mario and Luigi's pizza place, Mario is the boss and Luigi is the new starter, and Mario needs to see Luigi's tickets, but Luigi can't see Mario's tickets. And Mario needs to be able to log a ticket on behalf of Luigi, but Luigi can only log a ticket on behalf of himself. Yep. So to do something like that, we would make sure that Luigi's web access level is this user's tickets, but Mario's web access level is customers' tickets.
They can see everything, for the entire...
See everything at customer level, And then furthermore, in our self-service portal configuration, we want to make sure that the logging on behalf of other users is based on web access level, which means that Mario can log tickets on behalf of all customers, but Luigi can only log tickets on behalf of himself.
Yep.
There's a few other options in the permissions tab. Of course, here directly below, we've got our asset access level, which is basically web access level, but for assets instead of tickets.
Yeah.
We've also got the this option here, where this relates to this drop down that we have in the My Tickets section. So if a user's web access level is greater than their own tickets, maybe they can view site tickets, then there's this drop down here to specify what access they want when looking at the list of tickets that we have in here. This option will restrict the options in this drop down, but still allow the tickets to be returned in the search. We've also got some options around the level of documents that the user can see, whether or not they can see agreements in the self-service portal, whether or not they can access the service catalog, and if they can, their service access level. We will certainly be covering these either in this session or the next.
Yeah.
Whether or not they can view invoices, etc. So the permissions here, these are our end user permissions. We saw way back when the agents had permissions, and those permissions established what the agent can interact with the agent portal. Now we're having a look at some of the permissions that relate to end users via the end user portal. And you made a good point there about setting the role. So just like agents have roles, and just like the motivation of agents have roles to template the permissions, well, users have roles as well. So on the right hand side here, we have this roles section, of which we don't have any. But if I were to go to configuration, users, user roles, I could create one in here. And then we have this permissions tab. And again, just like with our agents and our agent roles, the permissions tab that we have here is very similar to the permissions tab that we just saw at user level. So we can configure user roles, setting things like the web access level, whether or not they can view documents, invoices, agreements, whether or not they can partake in approvals, that kind of stuff. We can set all of that at role level, and then apply those roles to our end users. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think it's better to do it at the role level anyway, because then you can just have that role. Like as a manager, you might have 3 managers in the company, right? You don't want to now go and set each one of their permissions individually. You'd want to kind of go, well, use the role instead, and then just apply it to those different people.
Yeah. It's a relatively new addition. I remember in my days of onboarding, we didn't have user roles, and it was exactly that. It was, wait, so I've got to go in and I've got to configure these permissions for all of the users that don't apply to the default. And it's like, yep. But yeah, fortunately, we can template that now into our roles, and it streamlines the whole process.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's go back to our portal config. Right, what else we've got here? Asset display behavior. So, I mean, these are relatively self-explanatory. Basically, it's specifying the assets that appear in this table, and what options do we want access to? Do we want site level? Do we want just the user level? I think we also have in here, oh no, but do we want site level, or do we want who we're logging on behalf of? Anything else? I don't think these are that important. This one's quite an important one. Show SLA compliance information. You're a brave MSP if you are returning your current SLA state and SLA time to your customers. If you don't want to do that, then uncheck this box. So basically with this checked, when your end users are looking at their tickets, the SLA timer will actually be present there, which is nice. But yeah, you're a brave MSP if you do that, I suppose. And if you didn't want to return that and just simply return the current status, you can uncheck that box. A nice one is whether or not you want to show workflow progress. So again, if you do have like a triage process in place and you've got a workflow you've got a workflow stages of, you know, triage, in progress, resolved, closed, something like that, you can return that up top here.
And it's funny you mentioned about the I was just thinking about that as you were saying about, you know, being a brave MSP, kind of showing your customers SLA. So we used to do that all the time in the business. Well, not show them on the portal, but we certainly used to send the customer a report saying, here's all the SLAs we've missed, here's all the SLAs we've hit.
Yeah.
Only because from our point of view, it was like, we just want to be open and honest and transparent for the customer. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're only human. So, you know, we screwed up on these ones. Sorry, Mr. Customer, we'll try better next time. Most of the time they didn't care. Sure. But yeah, we never showed the status as it was progressing, but it was definitely a case of, you know, here's the ones we've messed up on. These are why we missed them. You know, et cetera, because we just wanted to say, you know, there's nothing we're hiding from our customers in terms of being open and honest and transparent. And you know, and when you mess up, I'm a big believer of going, well, you know what, we've messed up, we're human, you know, we'll try better next time.
I couldn't agree more. And we will have a look in one of the upcoming sessions at how we can display dashboards on the self-service portal. And I totally get showing tickets that have met and missed their SLA. That's like a key metric in any QBR. But do you want to show your customer the actual SLA timer?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to show them the actual SLA timer because, well, I guess it depends on the customer, right? And it depends on who they are. But yes, I certainly wouldn't want to show it to every single customer. Just thinking back on when I ran my business, about some of the customers I would absolutely be happy to share that with, and others who like I wouldn't dare kind of show them that kind of stuff, because, you know, they're the kind of customers who pick at everything. You know, they'd be phoning you every 30 seconds saying it's gone 30 seconds more than it was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Those are the ones who pick urgent on every ticket, right?
Yeah, and then complain that it's breached SLA.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you forgot your password. Just here's a link to reset it. You're okay. Everything is gonna be okay.
The world is not ending. You're fine.
Yeah. Okay, so what other options do we have?
So interestingly, I see you've got which I never sort of really saw that property ID for the Talk, TAWK, which is the kind of chat facility. But that's built in, right, as part of the portal. So I'm assuming that means you can use that third party. I think it's called Talk.2, isn't it? You can use that as part of this. So does that replace the chat?
Yeah.
Feature in Halp?
Yeah. So it just embeds the Talk chat icon on top of the self-service portal, kind of like our existing chat already does. But yeah, if you didn't want to use the Halo chat on the self-service portal, then you could disable it in here and then put your Talk ID in, and then the Talk ID, the Talk chatbot would pop up.
Okay.
Right. So I think for the sake of keeping the video a reasonable time, we might wrap things up there. Just a brief introduction to the sort of configuration options. Oh, one other point before we wrap up is we've seen here, and more specifically at the top where we have this configuration section, we've seen how we can customize the self-service portal to suit your own branding. I just want to highlight that you can change the branding options on a customer by customer basis. And you can do that against the customer settings tab under override organization details. So in here, we also have the ability to change the portal theme and to change the portal logo as well. So and also change the portal home screen. So you can basically change how a self-service portal looks based on the individual who's logging in to the self-service portal. So based on the options in here, this sets the theme. Based on our user permissions and our user roles, that sets the level of access. And then based on the configuration for our menu buttons, we can have different menu buttons appear or not based on who's logged in. And the outcome of those 3 points is a very unique self-service portal experience based on whoever's logging in. And so I think we'll leave it there for this this session.
Yep.
We've just sort of had an introduction to self-service portal. We've looked at some of the ways that we can configure the look and feel of the portal and a couple of other miscellaneous options, an introduction to end user permissions. Of course, a massive part of the configuration of the self-service portal is the service catalog, which we will have a look at in the next session.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that really, excuse me, that really kind of brings us into its own, you know, having the ability to kind of have those service catalogs. And also you mentioned about the alerts, or I can't remember what we call them now. But you know, we can check if there's the
monitored,
monitors, uptime, downtime, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So maybe, well, I think what we'll do on the next video then is we'll cover off service catalog, and we'll cover off the monitors and see how those work and see how those can kind of get added to the end user portal.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much again, Morgan, and I really appreciate it as always that you're spending the time going through these. You know, these videos have been massively helpful. I know you've had a bunch of people who have you know, said how useful these were. You know, I'm getting people all the time saying these videos are useful. So really appreciate your help, your input on these, and you know, as always, appreciate that Halo is allowing us to do these, because I think they they massively benefit everybody out there. So thank you for your time, and we will see you on the next video.
Yeah, always a pleasure. It was good catching up, and I'll see you on the next one.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.